Hello, my name's Alan Foom, and today I'm going to talk about basin screening, which is a workflow for prioritizing areas for new ventures in hydrocarbon exploration. So we've got a creaming curve and a combined segment risk map. So what is basin screening and why do we need to do it? Well, all companies need to obtain new reserves to replace production. Basically, as you turn reserves into money, you need to keep feeding the hopper. If you, of course, want to remain a producing oil company, obviously, if you want to do something else, you want to sell out, then you don't need to do any of this. So how do you do it? Well, there's various ways of doing it. I've got a video of that on my channel, basically new exploration or mergers and acquisitions. But all companies have limited resources. They have limited people, limited money, limited time, and you need to focus on areas that are more likely to be successful. Doesn't guarantee success, just more likely. And basin screening is an integrated approach to try to gain an understanding of the hydrocarbon potential of a sedimentary basin. Obviously, the more you do, the bigger your understanding gets, but you never fully get to a complete understanding. You just get more understanding and a better understanding. And try to increase the likelihood of finding profitable petroleum developments. So you combine geology, engineering, economics, and an understanding of above ground factors to put everything together holistically. So does the oil company basically buy, hold, or exit? And this helps you do that. So a few definitions of basins, petroleum systems, petroleum plays, and discoveries, prospects, and leads. So here we're looking at the top line. We're looking at basins, and we're looking at petroleum systems, we're looking at plays. So play elements, of course, seal and reservoir, I'll talk a little bit about that later. Play fairways, evaluating play fairways, common risk segments, putting risk together, and understanding that there's uncertainty, because there's always risk and uncertainty in petroleum exploration. Nothing is ever fully certain. You have to understand that, and you have to manage it. So what do we need to consider? Well, I'm going to talk mainly about below ground. There's obviously, I have a video on above ground factors as well, so please have a look at that. So above ground, politics, economics, society, security, safety, environment, operational landscape, infrastructure, hydrocarbon contracts. I have a video on hydrocarbon contract on my channel as well, and what your corporate priorities within a sphere are. But below ground, we're looking at geological potential. What's the running room in a basin? Are we likely to find more things? How big are the prospects? Are they going to be above our economic threshold? And what's the average chance of success? Look at geological complexity, sources, reservoirs, and fields. The complexity is not necessarily a bad thing because the more reservoirs you have, more different reservoirs, more different plays, you have more running room. If you're effectively in a one-play basin, that tends to get exhausted fairly quickly. And what are your fluids? So gas, oil, and impurities. And I have a video on my channel looking at non-hydrocarbon gases, which is actually quite a big issue. And what's the available data we have? So while a geologist focuses on this, the below ground, you need to be aware of above ground. So if the below ground is not right, the above ground doesn't matter at all, but you need to understand the above ground. You don't need to be fully driven. If something is absolutely wonderful prospect, but it's in a country which you cannot access, well, forget about it, move on somewhere else. So what does the basin screening workflow involves? Well, you can look at basin play statistics, create play maps, looking at analogs from other plays, although analogs may not entirely always be appropriate. Analyzing well results, what's been drilled to date, what's worked, what hasn't. What do competitors know about it? Who's been active in the basin? Why are they active? Are they looking to exit? Are they looking to grow? And then looking at data from farm out materials. Obviously, those can be a bit biased because somebody's selling something. It's effectively a sale out brochure. And relinquishment reports, which are potentially biased another way. When acreage has been given back to the government, they have to put a report. Particularly in the UK, that's a valuable source of data. Looking at consultant reports, looking at government data. Again, you need to look at whether somebody has an angle, somebody has an agenda to try to sell something. And also non-exclusive geophysical data, what's available, what's the quality, etc. And you're here to make advice for building the detective. That's what geologists do. So looking at plays, prospect discoveries, potential appraisal situations, what's the field development like, new ventures for M&A and GRO, and then there's a geologist in the field. Unfortunately, we don't do as much field work as perhaps you'd like. So looking at stages and basins. So here's time on the x-axis and here's interest on the y. So initially you have a frontier. You have very little exploration has been done to date. So far, probably none of it has yet worked. People are sort of saying, poo-pooing, etc., or maybe getting a little excited when they take analogs together. Eventually, someone finds something in some basins, not all, and it becomes emerging. So you got first significant discoveries, it becomes seen as the hot area, the place to be. And for example, Namibia was a hot area about a year and a half ago. There have been some problems with reservoir quality since then. Then there was East Africa, then there was East Med. offshore Brazil, etc. So once basins start emerging, you get the fourth first big discoveries, everybody gets excited. Then you get production, which becomes established. Basin becomes more mature. They're still getting discoveries, still becoming quite profitable. So I've got a video on infrastructure-led exploration where you can make a lot of money. So again, if you're an established player in there, that's great. Coming into this from outside, you have to do M&A, might be a bit expensive, might not be necessarily for you. And then you get mature. So this is late life fields, you get a few small discoveries. There are many exits. So as companies decide to move on to other things. But there's scope for rejuvenation with new plays and new ideas. So there's also unconventional potential to be put into account. For instance, the Neuquén Basin in Argentina, which conventionally is very mature, the Vaca Muerta shale there has recently become very exciting, and Argentina has doubled its oil production from 1 million barrels of oil a day to 2 million barrels of oil a day. And that extra 1 million has come from the Vaca Muerta. So again, have a look at that potentially. So creaming curve. So I've got a video on basin statistics on my channel. So this is a quick summary of it. So you got cumulative volume on the y-axis and the well order on the x-axis. So initially, early wells, sparse data, then things get discovered. This is the emerging phase where you get excitement, when you get loads of extra volume for the wells. Then it starts rolling over. So you've got smaller volume adds, satellite developments using existing infrastructure or ILX. Jumps might happen if you've got new plays in existing basins where things get really quite exciting. And then you got very mature, where you got low volume ads, operators tend to chase Hail Marys, so occasionally new plays which may or may not necessarily work. Again, if you're in here already, you're probably making quite a bit of money, but getting into here, perhaps not, unless you're a specialized company that tends to look at that. Now, one peculiar, well, not that peculiar, but actually very useful normalized screening was devised by a bloke called Andrew Lodge, and it's called a normalized screening curve. So what you do is effectively have everything in percentages. So that's the well count from 0%, so first well, to 100% up to date. And then you have the cumulative discovered volume. So you've got tail of two basins. So the red line, almost a 45-degree slope, so you're continually adding extra volume. And this is what we call running room. Whereas this volume, shaped like the letter gamma, Greek letter gamma, is a very mature basin that became mature early. So effectively, it's a one-play basin. So you've got loads of discoveries in the first 10% or thereabouts of the wells, and then 90% of the volume is found in the first few wells, and then virtually nothing sits because it's run out of running room. So unless you're a specialist in rejuvenating fields, you really don't want to be in this place. But being in this place is a very good place to be because there's still quite a bit of running room. And I'm surprised more people don't use this particular technique because I think this is really cool. So you've got play statistics. Again, we've got a video on play statistics. So for example, you have your drilling history plot. So with dry wells and partial successes and successes, you've got your success rate plot. So initially fairly high success rate, and then it becomes flattening off. Then you have your discovery history chart. So when in an annualized basis, big volumes are made. So this effectively is like a creaming curve, but with years instead of wells on the x-axis. And then you've got your field size distribution, what the likely sizes of your fields. Again, this gives you an idea of what's going on in the basin that has had some discoveries. Obviously, a frontier basin, this may be very sparse, this may be very non-existent effectively, and here success rate so far may have been 0, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stay 0 forever because somebody might have an idea that works. So play fairway evaluation. So what's a petroleum play? So you've got your reservoir, you've got your trap, you've got your source, you've got hydrocarbons moving up, and then you've got seal. And this is an example from the southern North Sea between Great Britain and the Netherlands. That's the European Permian Basin. That's Denmark over here. Goes all the way to Poland. So you have the late Carboniferous Westphalian coals. That's your source. You have the Rotliegend Reservoir. So this is an early Permian when the whole place was a desert. So you have effectively desert sands. Rotliegend, red sand in German. And then you have Zechstein salt. Water came in, flooded the place, kept being evaporating, depositing rock salt. So that's your seal. So you got source, seal, reservoir, and effectively you would map these for your plays. And the way you do that is by play element mapping. Again, I've got a video on that on my channel that talks a little bit more about it, but this is just a brief summary. So you got your reservoir. So you have your red where the reservoir is absent, your light green where the reservoir might be present, and your dark green where the reservoir is definitely present. This is based on well results. Then you have your seal, and you have the same map for your source, and you put all the two together, all three together to combine with a common segment risk map. So in this particular case, this is your reservoir, this is your seal, this is your source, this green blob where all the discoveries are. Again, this is a fictional basin from my talk. Would give you an idea, but you've got to be beware of the green blobs because the green blobs are current ideas. New ideas might change the shape of the blobs. So don't be over influenced by the blobs. Do the work to make sure that you understand where they are. Looking at well results analysis. So this is a plot of the wells, again, from a fictional basin. What causes them to fail? So trap works most of the time. Field doesn't work some of the time. Charge might be more of a problem here. Kind of challenging to do because you need to have to get all this information for the wells. You have to try to understand what it is. So it's a bit like archaeology in a way. But you have to bear in mind that contemporary geologists had ideas when they were drilled. Some of these ideas might not have worked. They were sensible people, but sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. And this is a well-resulted plot of what might have happened. You know, hydrocarbon discovery, well drilled off trap, reservoirs absent or poor, no signs of charge, seal might have broken, or a well that's gone through the play but looking at a deeper play, but not actually aiming at a target within this particular play. And then also you look at a well, set of wells, who drilled what, so Omega and Sigma, two different companies, different types of data available. Was a well drilled in a valid trap? Was the well drilled, was it a valid top seal? Were there hydrocarbons in the well? Was the reservoir any good in this particular well? Case well A was drilled outside the reservoir fairway because they didn't have 3D seismic at the time with amplitude anomalies, and had a bit of gas shows, whereas well B was a discovery. So this is actually based on a real field, but I won't obviously name the company involved. Next factor is yet to find estimation. So this is trying to figure out how much we got left to find. Obviously, this is highly uncertain, but you need to try to estimate that to make the investment decision. Is this something where you want to look at further? Does it have huge potential or is it creamed out? Now, there are some yet to find estimates produced by governments and investors. They can be, how shall I put it, a little bit optimistic. And you need to perhaps look at it in a more holistic way of future energy policy. Is there going to be peak oil supply? Different ways of doing it, looking at source rock yield, how much hydrocarbons we generated by source rock, aerial yield using analog, feature count by field size distribution. That's the method I would say I would prefer, or prospect and lead inventory. So these are things already been mapped and look at the chance of success and chance of volumes. There are things I don't like, which is screaming curve projection or field size distribution projection, i.e. basically missing fields. I talk about it in my video and yet to find estimation on my channel, so please check that one out. So sum up, fairway tools, you've got your play statistics, providing your context, the creaming curves, average chance of success, well results analysis. This is to benchmark your more detailed evaluation. Does it look right? And if it doesn't look right, why isn't it? What's different? Doesn't mean you're wrong, just means that you need to try to come up with an explanation. You get to find estimation, so screening for potential. Where are you going to focus your efforts? The many methods all have pluses and minuses, but kind of beware of estimations of motivations to estimate, particularly if it's an external estimate. And then play a fairway evaluation, very systematic, mapping source, seal, reservoir, triplets, building combined risk segment maps, but beware of the green blob. Try not to constrain yourself too much. So to sum up, basin screening workloads help you make better decisions, but they don't guarantee success. Sometimes they can actually blinker you, so you just need to be a bit more flexible. So enables focus on areas that are more likely to have future profitable hydrocarbon resources. It doesn't guarantee success. You know, you could have success outside, you could have failure inside. Try to be a bit more open-minded though. It enables you to go into data rooms for licensing round, lease sales, or M&A opportunities with some insight rather than being totally naive. So you've got some ideas, but obviously nothing survives contact with data. So as more information comes to light, you need to become more flexible. Putting combining below ground, above ground risks to obtain a holistic view. So thank you very much. Please like, please subscribe, and keep exploring.